On the season finale of Gridiron Glory, Bloom-Carroll and Ironton could make the state Final Four tonight, but two Columbus powerhouses stand in their way. And we look ahead to tomorrow's regional finals and OVAC rematch, plus Newark Catholic looking to repeat a trip to Canton. But the big event, we reveal the 50 players to make our all-GG team, including your Player of the Year, so stick around. The hour-long Gridiron Glory special starts right now. Here we go. Welcome to the Gridiron Glory season finale. We've got a handful of the Player of the Year finalists joining us in studio tonight. And Jack and Chloe, two others are battling for spots in the regional finals.
Jacob, we'll see how Ironton and Bloom-Carroll fared in their matchups tonight, as well as preview two additional Saturday games.
But of course, tonight our focus is on the all-GG team. We're going to be meeting 50 players plus who we named Coach of the Year. And at the end, we're going to announce who is the winner of this season's Player of the Year.
We've got a ton in store for tonight, so let's not waste any more time. Let's get into it.
You're right, Jack, and we'll start with the captains on offense. Here's the list for the all-GG team quarterbacks.
Under center for the first team is Jackson Ironman quarterback Jacob Winters. Winters won FAC Player of the Year heading the bulldozer that is the Jackson offense, which led the Ironmen to their second straight FAC title. He threw for 1,856 yards and added another 434 on the ground while piling up 22 total touchdowns and showing everyone there isn't a throw he can't make or tackle he can't break.
So on the next drive, they've been setting this one up since the first half. Fake quarterback run, and Winters pulls it back to fire a dime in stride to King Wolford, who takes it 70 yards to the house, and just like that, Jackson's on top 13-12.
Following Jacob Winters, we have the main man of the Cambridge Bobcats, quarterback Caden Moore. Moore broke every single quarterback record in the book this year for Cambridge. This young man really can do it all, not only on the ground with his lightning speed, but through the air with his cannon of an arm. Moore threw for 3,293 yards with 36 passing touchdowns on the year. He also ran for 361 yards while posting 10 rushing touchdowns to his name.
Next up, we have Ironton's offensive coordinator, Taden Carpenter. For the year so far, Carpenter has 2,739 total yards and 33 total touchdowns. Carpenter is throwing at 78% and almost 15 yards per attempt, and those are all before Ironton's regional final matchup against Harvest Prep. To go along with these marvelous stats of his, Carpenter also made first team Southeast District Division 5. With the offensive trio of Jaquez, Keys, Ty Perkins, and Carpenter, it is clear to why Ironton has so much success towards their season.
Now, as they say, if you can't take the heat, get out of the kitchen. And Ironton faithful Taden Carpenter said, "What's for dinner?"
Our fourth quarterback on the list is CJ Hannes from Barnesville. He had a total of 1,607 pass yards and a total of 29 touchdowns throughout the season. Not only were his stats impressive, but he also was the Division 5 East District Co-Offensive Player of the Year. Look at this pass right here. He's a guy who has a ton of confidence and leadership qualities that really show on the field. And with other leaders like Taysom Starr by your side, it's easy to see why Barnesville had such a great season.
First play I know, how about 43 yards and a touchdown for Hannes to tie the game up at 7.
Quarterback Kevin Cooper is the all-time scoring leader at Paint Valley, and he capped off an excellent career with an All-SVC and All-Southeast District first-team selection. Cooper led Paint Valley to a playoff appearance while putting up excellent stats. He passed for over 1,600 yards, rushed for almost 600, and scored 36 total touchdowns. He was also a force on the defensive side of the ball for the Bearcats, recovering 5 fumbles and intercepting 2 passes while playing safety. The senior ended his career as a 4-year starter, leading Paint Valley to 4 straight playoff appearances.
The final quarterback on our all-GG team is the leader of the Waterford Wildcats, Jake Pantelidis. The dual threat threw for 1,474 yards and 19 touchdowns while rushing for 6 touchdowns. He also led his team to a TVC Hawking title and earned TVC Hawking Offensive Player of the Year honors.
In quarter, Jake Pantelidis keeps this one on the quarterback keeper, makes a man miss, and brings it all the way to the Tomcats' 3-yard line.
One of those guys proved that he may be deserving of even more. He led the Ironmen to a 10-3 record and a trip to the regional semifinals. Our first Player of the Year nominee is Jacob Winters. There is no denying this man can play ball.
This guy is a great player who can get it done both through the air and on the ground, as he is one of our hardest rushers. FAC reporter Zach Mothersbaugh is live in studio with Jacob Winters.
Thanks, Mata. And Jacob, we really appreciate you taking the time to be here with us. Now, first, I want to ask you, you guys went through so much turmoil this year, injuries, illnesses. How are you able to fight through that?
Well, our coach preaches every day we have to fight through adversity, and when things bad happen, we have the mentality of next man up and to keep fighting through everything that's thrown at us. So yeah. And
you guys, you were able to get it done in offense in so many ways. How does your extensive skill set really fit into that Ironman offense?
Well, after I'm a senior, so after these past 3 years, you learn how to run that offense and how to develop your skills around that offense. So just after experience and having the time, you get used to it.
And your workload really as a quarterback has gotten bigger every single year you've played. How are you able to run with that change?
I guess I accept it. I like the challenge of having more that I have to do. I'd rather myself be dependable for my whole team, so they have to look up to me, and I'd rather be the one at fault than the rest of anybody else.
And it's just your first season now as a full starter, and you won FAC Player of the Year. What does that mean to you?
It means a lot. I really appreciate it. I started my sophomore year at quarterback. Last year I split time. This year's had it the whole season. So it means a lot, and it shows hard work pays off. And yeah.
And you're able to get it done on both sides of the ball. I said rushing and passing. Now we're going to flip over to the defensive side. How much do you work on that, and how much does that help with you on your offensive side?
If something bad goes happen on offense, I have to keep a calm head there, but I can take my frustration out on defense. Being able to play both ways really helps the team, helps everyone around me.
And what does it mean to be here tonight?
I'm very honored to be here. This is a big thing. I've seen it ever since I was a kid, growing up, watching Gridiron Glory, so it means a lot.
Thank you so much. And now we'll go back to you, Mata.
Let's move on to the guys who are grinding it out on the ground and joining the quarterbacks in the backfield. Here are your all-GG team running backs.
Our first team all-GG running back is none other than the D6 Southeast District Offensive Player of the Year, Chase Hall. The legend himself etched his name into football history books, finishing with over 3,200 yards and 50 total touchdowns. Chase Hall is a name to note for Ohio high school football.
Southeast Ohio's leading rusher, Chase Hall, did not disappoint. He would start off the game hot with 2 touchdowns. Check it as he cooks it on this second one all the way to the other end. Hall doing what he does best, snagging those yards.
Our other starting running back is none other than the human wrecking ball known as Mason Hackett. Even in limited work, this guy showed why he was the Division VII Central District Offensive Player of the Year. He averaged just under 9 yards a carry and rushed for an insane 21 touchdowns in just 8 full games. Hackett was an instrumental piece to a Newark Catholic team that captured its first LCL Cardinal title this decade and is playing in a regional final tomorrow.
One word to describe this guy is bulldozer. Every play leaves would-be tacklers in a heap behind him, and he's got speed too. The total package for a dominant running back in the 7-4-0.
The beast out of the MVL, Hunter Rose, is next on our list. Rose, a Southeast District first teamer, ran all over opposing defenses for over 1,500 yards and count them, 21 tutties. His absurd 9.2 yards per carry led New Lex to their first MVL title since 2004.
And with a minute left in the half, New Lex puts the ball in Rose's hands again. Get this man on your fantasy team. He was a machine tonight. That's his second score of the game.
When it came to offensive dominance, no one soared higher than Union Local's Jackson Price. Price was named to the East District Division V first team, broke the school record for points, all-time rushing yards, yards in a single season, rushing touchdowns in a season, and rushing touchdowns all time, while running for 2,000 yards and 25 touchdowns.
And they didn't look back. The Jets defense shut out the Huskies in the second half, and it was also thanks to Jackson Price's 238 rushing yards and 3 touchdowns.
Our second OVAC running back is Owen Brown of Fort Frye. Brown was the featured back of a run-heavy cadet offense. He has 1,700 rushing yards and 33 total touchdowns this season. He also was awarded the Division VI East District Offensive Player of the Year. He scored 2 touchdowns in their regional semifinal win last week and will lead the cadets into the regional final tomorrow night.
2 plays later, senior Owen Brown breaks away from the Wildcats and makes a statement with a 51-yard touchdown.
can't say running back without thinking of Dylan Armentrout for none other than the Bloom-Carroll Bulldogs. Armentrout broke a 32-year-old single-season rushing record set back in 1990. He racked up 1,687 rushing yards for a total of 1,958 yards, let alone 14 touchdowns, 12 of those rushing. With his speed, he pulls away easily and is a scoring machine. Look at this play right here. Dylan Armentrout glides 63 yards into the end zone, taking a commanding 28-0 lead at the half.
Following Armentrout, we have Zane Trace's Daniel Barnhart. Barnhart ended the season with 1,482 rushing yards and 17 rushing touchdowns, earning himself SVC Offensive Back of the Year, D5 Southeast District First Team Offense, and all SVC team honors. With a workhorse back like him, it's no wonder that Zane Trace finished the regular season undefeated. A couple drives later, and the Pioneers get their points. Daniel Barnhart takes it to the crib for a long score to give themselves the lead 7-6.
Next up is a player who's making his return to the All-GG team, junior Cade Wolford from Jackson. Wolford led a dynamic backfield for the Ironmen this season, racking up 1,234 yards on the ground and 569 receiving yards for 17 total touchdowns. The All-FAC and Division III First Team All-District honoree will be a player on everybody's 740 watch list next season.
Then the Cade Wolford show continues as he breaks a toss off the right side from near midfield and finds the end zone again on a long run to put Jackson back up.
Next up, we have Vinton County's very own Garrett Brown, who had 1,262 rushing yards and averaged 7.3 yards per carry this season. He also led the team in total yards. Brown was the most valuable player on the team's offense after the injury to starting quarterback Isaac Mullahan, which includes the passing game, which is shown on this impressive touchdown. He's a great running back, but he's also an impressive linebacker on the defensive side.
Williams dropping back to pass, but Brown would read the eyes, jump the route, and he's got nothing but green grass ahead of him. He goes in untouched.
One of those running backs totaled 338 points this season, which makes him second all-time in the OHSAA history for points scored in a season.
Jacob, the next player on our All-GG list is straight from the OVC, Chase Hall.
And speaking of explosive offenses, what has Chase Hall been able to do for those Hornets?
Well, Jacob, what hasn't he been able to do? He may be a Hornet, but he's got that dog in him. So Chase, I just wanted to thank you for coming out tonight. But to get into it, this season you etched your name into history books, not only for Colgrove, but for statewide and nationally. I mean, you scored the most points in the country this season. Tell me, how does it feel?
It's an absolute pleasure.
I mean, it's got to feel good, right? I mean, you
yeah, it does.
just had an absolutely great season. I mean, you really made a name for yourself, and you really put Colgrove on the map. Like, does it feel good to kind of be that guy for your community?
Yeah, it does. Our Colgrove community comes a long line of football. Football is pretty good in Colgrove.
Do you have anything to say about like how the kids come and stay behind after and just want to get pictures with you and anything like that? And want to get your autograph? I mean, that's got to feel good, right?
Yeah, that kind of does. It does feel good that the little kids look up to me and stuff, that they want to basically be me. I've had kids walk up to me like, I just want to be like Chase Hall. And that just feels good to me.
Mm-hmm. Now, coming into this season, like what did you really do to prepare? And what was the biggest difference from last season?
To really prepare, I just got in the weight room, worked hard all year, every day basically in the weight room. Out on the field every day, doing drills. The biggest difference from last year to this year was our team was young last year. We're a lot more grown up this year. Everyone's a lot older, more mature, knows what they're doing better.
So personally for you, what kind of legacy do you really want to leave behind on Colgrove and for your younger teammates?
I just want everyone to be able to look up to me saying, I want to be like him one day. I want to be able to leave the legacy behind, Like, he was a good athlete. I want to be like him.
And I mean, what would winning this award mean for you?
It would be an honor to win it. I worked hard all season, year in, all day, every day. It'd just be an honor.
All right, well, thank you so much for coming out again, Chase. But for now, we're gonna have to send this one back over to Jacob.
We've talked about the guys lining up in the backfield, but what about the other skill players? Here are the guys who made the cut to be wide receivers on the All-GG team.
Our first team All-GG wide receiver is your worst Southeast Ohio nightmare, Ty Perkins. When this man is open, he is lethal. He has 53 catches on 1,249 receiving yards with 24.9 yards per catch. A senior captain for the Tigers, Perkins helped lead his team to their 4th straight OVC championship and another undefeated season. As a Gridiron Glory Player of the Year finalist, he just is that guy.
And just when you thought he was done, the man does it again. Ty Perkins to the only place he knows, the end zone.
The first MVL receiver on the team is Tri-Valley's Ashton Sensabaugh. Let's start with his 1,200 plus receiving yards and 17 touchdowns on just 51 catches. Now let's talk about his impact on the record books. The Tri-Valley single-game receiving record, single-season touchdown record, and single-season receiving record all shattered.
Axel fakes the give and rainbows a ball to the back corner of the end zone, finding Ashton Sensabaugh for the score. Scotty's capitalize on a turnover and jump out to a 7-0 lead.
Now on to the SOC2 nightmare, wide receiver Jeffrey Bishop. Explosive downfield for the Portsmouth West Senators, Bishop leads our coverage in yards per catch at 27.6. With 1,033 yards and 17 TDs on the season, Bishop was named a first-team Southeastern District receiver in Division 5.
That's when Irwin threw up a prayer. To who else? Bishop, and look at this circus grab. Are you kidding me? Out of the break, Bishop wasn't done. This time in the secondary, he picks off Berg to give West the ball and momentum.
Cambridge's #1 receiving threat through the air is next up on our list. Wide receiver, Davion Barr. An absolutely electric season for Cambridge, as he has set the new record for the most receiving touchdowns in a single season. Barr hauled in an astonishing amount of touchdowns, 17 to be exact, while also posting a total of 1,173 receiving yards through the air this year. He was a huge reason why the Cambridge Bobcats made it all the way to the regional quarterfinals.
Following Barr is another record breaker in Unioto's Maddox Fox. Fox holds the school record for most single-season touchdown receptions with 12, and most receptions in a game with 14, leading him to a first-team All-SVC nod. He also holds career records for catches, yards, and touchdowns. Fox spent most of his time on the field behind the defense or in the end zone, tallying 918 yards on the season.
On the first drive, Newton Hoop finds his big man, Madden Fox, over the middle for the first.
Next up is one of the best to ever do it in the MVL, Tatum Toth. Tatum had over 1,000 yards receiving last season, which in turn saw defenses doubling him in coverage a lot more this year. Despite the tighter coverage, he still found a way to add 673 receiving yards and 8 touchdowns to his career resume, with an average of over 19 yards per reception. He finishes his career with 2,419 total yards to go along with 22 total touchdowns, setting the all-time receiving yard record and tying the touchdown record for a receiver in the MVL.
If you are looking for the quintessential flex player and the heart and soul of the Bellaire Big Reds, look no further than Ray Pettigrew. Pettigrew finished the year with 1,067 total yards and 12 total touchdowns, which landed him on the East District first team for Division 6. On defense, he added 3 interceptions and has the record for most pick sixes in Bellaire history.
Later in the half, as Ray Pettigrew would intercept Van Rivera's pass, take it all the way back for a 68-yard pick six, putting the score at the half 7-7.
The final receiver on our All-GG team is Rivers Brody Lawlethan. Lawlethan hauled in 33 passes for 990 yards and scored 25 touchdowns for the Pilots this season. That was good enough for the East District's Co-Offensive Player of the Year award in Division 7 and the trip to tomorrow's regional title game against Newark Catholic.
Pilots would just keep responding as Caleb would find Brody again off a screen and completely run over a South defender.
And rounding out the wide receivers is Paint Valley's own Carson Frye. Frye used this season to shatter Paint Valley records, including most receptions in a season with 61 and most receiving yards in a season with 1107. Frye also tacked on 13 touchdowns with his extensive route tree and ability to high point the football over any defender. And there's plenty more where this came from, as Frye was only a sophomore this year.
Then it's Carson Frye, and oh my goodness, can he get all the way up the ladder?
One of those receivers is a Player of the Year candidate, and he was in action tonight. Ty Perkins and the Ironton Tigers met with the Harvest Prep Warriors for their second playoff face-off in 3 years. Morgan Anderson joins us live from the field to break down this intense regional final.
Mata, this matchup was a catfight between two high-powered offenses, and there's no wonder why. With 1 seed Ironton and 2 seed Harvest Prep, this is the most competition both teams have had all year. If we open up the record books, Ironton played Harvest Prep in the regional finals 2 years ago in a tight win of 21-14. But in 2021, the Tigers didn't even make it to the finals. On the flip though, Harvest Prep lost in the state semifinals to Versailles by 1 touchdown last season. To say these teams wanted to rewrite some history tonight is an understatement. And rewrite they did. But winning ain't easy in this neck of the woods. After a tough opening drive, Ty Perkins would take one in for a 25-yard touchdown halfway into the first. Taden Carpenter would then cook it up with this A1 run, beating absolutely all the odds with 1, 2, 3 guys trying to take him out. And right after, a 38-yard completion to Ty Perkins at the 1 set them up next for an easy touchdown by Carpenter for the QB sneak. Next, a 16-yard throw to Perkins for an interception, and it was like taking candy from a baby. Into the half, 14-0 Ironton. Next up in the third, can you believe it? I sure can, because it's Ty Perkins for this bag. And the man himself would then go on for his second interception of the night, leading the Tigers to a Region 19 crown with a score of 34-0.
Morgan, Harvest Prep has put up 119 points in this postseason run alone. How the heck did the Tigers get away with this one?
Mata, it was actually a lot easier than we thought. This game was a matter of capitalizing on mistakes, and Ironton did that. From bad snaps to dropping the ball on tackle, Ironton just did not cut any corners.
This is said to be one of the most balanced Ironton teams we've seen in a while. Who stood out?
Mata, if you were looking at the field tonight, you were seeing all things Perkins on both sides of the ball. This legend literally ruled the game, and Harvest Prep let him have it. He averaged 20 yards a catch and went for 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and had 123 receiving yards. Here's the kicker though, Mata. He did this in only 6 catches.
Now, Morgan, we gotta know, who's on the Tigers' watch list now as they hit the road for the state semifinals?
Mata, the Tiger Den isn't sure who's going to turn the lights out on Friday when everyone leaves town, as they're going to head out to take on the Valley View Spartans. We have seen some of Ironton's greatest athletes this season, including Ty Perkins. The man is an absolute dog.
For sure, Morgan, and that's why he's up for GG Player of the Year. Obviously, Ty couldn't be with us tonight, but Morgan, you had the chance to speak with him after the game.
Mata, he is a great player who's left a significant mark on the Ironton football program.
Ty, you just came off of a really great game. This has been a monumental season for you guys. Let's talk about growth. How have you grown as a player, and how has your team grown throughout this season?
Everyone grows every single day of practice. You know, iron sharpens iron, like I told you guys last week. Ever since that Gallia week where we struggled to, beat them, it really flipped a switch for us. We realized that we weren't invincible like we thought we were. So after that Gallia game, it really turned us on.
You know, there are some people saying that this is one of the most well-balanced Ironton football teams they've seen in decades. I'm curious to know from you, you guys have a lot of culture on your team. What does it mean to truly be an Ironton football player that sets you guys apart from everyone else?
You know, it's different. Playing for a team like Ironton, it's it's something special. We take a lot of pride into football. Our community does. Our community revolves around the sport of football.
What would it mean to win the Gridiron Glory Player of the Year award?
You know, there was a lot of good finalists for Gridiron Glory Player of the Year. These guys are top dudes, all of them, you know. So the recognition is just unreal. I couldn't thank you guys enough for allowing me to be in the top 5. Even what was it, 16? It's just crazy. If I do win, it'd be a different feeling. I'd be really excited.
Mata, with a player like that, it will be interesting to see how he leads his team next week.
Thanks, Morgan, and get back to Athens safe. Wide receivers aren't the only threats through the air. There are big guys on the line throwing blocks that can run routes. That brings us to our list for the All-GG team tight ends.
Starting the lineup for tight ends and making his triumphant return to first team's All-FAC and All-GG senior out of Washington Courthouse, Tanner LeMaster. Leaving his senior season with 655 yards and 12 touchdowns, this blue line stood tall and proud over every defender opposing him. Averaging 14.6 yards per catch, every touch he had made a difference.
Scouts say there's 2 things he can't teach, size and speed. Well, Tanner LeMaster has got this size thing covered. That is what we call getting Moss 14-13 Courthouse with the lead now.
And the other tight end in our starting lineup is junior Tavion Galloway from Chillicothe. This guy is the player that college scouts love, pulling in 697 total yards and 6 touchdowns to call his own. Galloway was an equally key player on the defensive side of the ball. He forced 4 separate fumbles in which he recovered 1 of his own. His grit and his knack for being in the right place at the right time landed him impressive stats as a tight end.
And Galloway doesn't just get it done on offense.
That's right. He's a top-notch linebacker, and his height and athleticism make him a daunting presence in the middle of the field.
And the last position group on the offense, the players that make it happen up front. The big guys who don't always get the credit they deserve for grinding in the trenches. The All-GG team, offensive linemen.
GG team is Isaac Claria from Gallia Academy. At 6 foot 7 inches tall, Clary has been a beast for the Blue Devils. With 94 pancakes and only 1 sack allowed, he earned first team All-District in Southeast Ohio and was also named Division IV Lineman of the Year. Clary opened up holes for the Blue Devils' run game to be successful all season long.
Our next selection is Jaden Ball of the Bloom-Carroll Bulldogs. It has been a spectacular year for Ball. He earned the Lineman of the Year award in the MSL Buckeye Division this season thanks to 153 pancakes and 6 tackles. Ball's efforts on the front line have been a major factor in Bloom-Carroll's dynamic offensive performances and current 12-game winning streak.
Staying in the trenches, Alec Jenkins has been unstoppable up front for the Piketon Red Streaks. Jenkins cleaned up individually with awards, earning first team offensive lineman in Southeast District Division 5, along with first team All-SVC. Jenkins was a part of a stellar offense that led Piketon to its 3rd straight playoff appearance, playing a key role in an offense that averaged 23 points per game.
Hunter Zizek is a great player and a great leader for Sheridan. Coach Culver said that Zizek is one of the best linemen that we have ever had. He pushes people to be their very best. Zizek is also the only player that plays every single snap on offense and defense.
Rounding out the list of first-team All-GG linemen is Cade Woods. Portsmouth West's emergence as a Region 19 powerhouse this year was in large part due to the arrival of the offensive line. That line was anchored by Woods, who claimed Southeast District Division 5 Lineman of the Year and SOC2 Lineman of the Year.
And that wraps up our list for the All Gridiron Glory offensive team.
Jacob, we've seen some outstanding offensive weapons all around the region.
Absolutely, Jack. And with all the talent across our 8 conferences, it was rough to leave out any player.
But before we break down the All-GG defensive team, we still have a couple Saturday games to break down.
And Jacob, we start with an OVAC rematch between Fort Frye and Bellaire, who last met in week 2 of the regular season.
And for that, we're going to have to welcome Grayson Wolf to help us break it down.
Yeah, Chloe, when these two teams met in week 2, Fort Frye head coach Eric Huck told his team that Bellaire was the 2nd best team in Region 23. Ended up being spot on with that prediction. When Fort Frye and Bellaire kick off tomorrow night, it will be 84 days since the Cadets beat the Big Reds by 36 points. Bellaire learned a lot from that game and used it to win 9 of their next 11. Fort Frye averaged 14 yards per play against the Big Reds defense. They ran for over 450 yards. Austin Powell and all-GG running back Owen Brown combined for 370 of those yards and 5 touchdowns. The Cadets' offensive line was able to dominate up front, which led to the big rushing numbers. The Bellaire front seven is going to have to limit the Cadet rushing attack on first and second down. If they can do that and put Fort Frye into obvious passing situations, that is when the strength of their defense can take over, their secondary. Bellaire will also have to limit the big play. They gave up 4 touchdowns of over 35 yards in their first matchup. The Cadet secondary will have to lock up all-GG wide receiver Ray Pettigrew, who tore it up in week 2. Huck had to say this about the rematch after last week's win.
It's obviously a big rematch to see them again for a regional championship. You know, they're a tough team to defend. They're very athletic, but you know, our guys are going to be ready.
The combined record of opponents that Bellaire has lost to is 42-6. They are battle-tested and played a tough non-conference schedule for games like this. But if you don't think Fort Frye's prepared for this one, you don't know Southeast Ohio football. This is their 5th straight regional final appearance. These Cadet seniors have seen their team make the trip every year since they were in 8th grade. Kickoff is set for tomorrow night at 7 o'clock at Zanesville High School.
And Grayson, while the OVAC is running through the playoffs, there's still a team surviving down in Division 7.
That's right, Mata. The River Pilots' high-flying offense scored over 40 points for the 11th time this season last week.
LCL reporter Ethan Sargent has more on the matchup between 2-seed River and 1-seed Newark Catholic.
Thanks, Mata. This game is set to be a battle of 2 teams with state title expectations, and the star power on both sides will be on full display in what should be an absolute barn burner. Folks, you're going to want to buckle your seatbelts for this. Both offenses have all Gridiron Glory playmakers. For the Pilots, a 45 points per game offense is led by quarterback Cable Isley, and he has the Division 7 East District Offensive Player of the Year, Brody Lolithan, to work with. And when he's making plays like these, it's not hard to see why he's racking up the accolades this season. Now moving over to the Green Wave, they've got the Division 7 Central District Offensive Player of the Year, Mason Hackett, to pound the rock. He paces a fast and powerful offense that puts up 38 a game, and I'd be doing a disservice if I didn't mention the Newark Catholic defense. Led by senior linebacker Brendan Sheehan, the Green Wave have only given up 89 points all year for an insane 8.1 points per game. Coach Ryan Aiello and Newark Catholic have been in the film room this week preparing for Isley in the River offense.
Together a game plan that's going to put our kids in the best position to be successful, but definitely have a lot of respect for them and the conference that they come from. You know, typically it's been Shady Side, you know, and they do a great job, you know, that conference in itself. So we'll figure out what we need to do, and yeah, we'll see what happens.
Newark Catholic is the last LCL team remaining in the OHSAA playoffs, while River is one of 3 teams from the OVAC still alive. We just discussed Bellaire and Fort Frye. The battle between that high-flying Pilots offense versus the brick wall we call a Green Wave defense is going to be must-watch stuff and is going to make for a game for the ages to decide Region 27. Mata, I can't wait to head to this game. It's got potential to be an instant classic. Can the Pilots fly over the Green Wave? We'll find out in Cambridge tomorrow night at 7 o'clock.
I can't wait to hear about it, Ethan. Thanks for the great work. You can get the results of both these games by following along on social media. We'll keep you posted even after our season finale as teams continue to fight for a trip to Canton. We'll have highlights, video recaps, and photo albums on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and written recaps at woub.org/gridiron. Let's hop on over to the defensive side of the ball and start with the big guys up front who are wreaking havoc. Here are the best defensive linemen in the 7-4-0.
First up on the defensive line, we have the big man with the big moves from the FAC, Charles Souther. Souther was named a first-team defensive lineman in the Southeast Division III. Souther led the Washington Courthouse Blue Lions this season with a whopping 86 tackles, 10 tackles for loss, and leads our coverage with 13 sacks on the season. Souther is a powerhouse lineman for the Blue Lions this season, helping lead his team to a 9-3 record and a regional quarterfinals appearance.
The next lineman that was a standout player this year is Caleb Riggs. Riggs tore up the charts on the defensive side of the ball in his final season, earning him a Division VI East District Defensive Player of the Year. He made 92 tackles this season, with 24 of them for loss. Riggs also recorded a total of 8 sacks, making sure a pass wasn't an option on offense. Riggs showed on his side of the ball that there wasn't anything getting past him and leading to low scores from the other team in the process.
Our third and final defensive lineman is Marshall Mead. He had a total of 100 tackles this season and 11 sacks. Another stat that really stands out for number 52 is he had 22.5 tackles for loss throughout the season. Not only are his stats superior, but he was also first team East District Division 5 defensive lineman. And I mean, look at this man, he's a beast. When you watch him play, this is one of those players who does not give up throughout the game, and he never runs out of energy. He's one of those players that adds to the motivation on the team and inspires the other guys around him. Barnesville should expect big things from Marshall in the future.
Our next all-GG defensive position is linebacker. These guys provide an extra layer of coverage against any offense. This position is so stacked this year that we have 2 linebackers making it on our Player of the Year watch list.
And Jacob, our first linebacker to make this list is Leighton Loge. Leighton, thanks for joining us. Back-to-back TVC Defensive Player of the Year, Division 6 Southeast District Defensive Player of the Year, and on the watch list for the Gridiron Glory Player of the Year. What do all these accolades mean to you?
They mean a lot. Even just thinking about it, I think it's like less of an individual award because, the coaches coaching me and all my teammates, big thanks goes out to the scout team. Scout team's out there working every week. They're just helping me improve. Coaches helping me improve. So, it means a lot because it's not just my award. I'm winning it for everybody else.
And you've tallied a lot of tackles throughout your career. Talk to me about your defensive play style and how you were able to cover such a wide area of the field.
It's kind of like you kind of have to have a selfish mentality with it. Coach always says 11 helmets to football, and when I'm chasing the ball carrier, if Gavin's there before me or whoever's there before me, I'm thinking they're gonna miss the tackle. I want the opportunity to hit the guy, and that's always what I'm thinking.
And not only are you a great player on the field, you're also a great leader both on and off. Talk to me about your leadership style and how you've grown into this leadership position you hold as a senior.
As a freshman or sophomore, I started playing more as a sophomore, and I always struggled to, speak up and have the seniors listen to me. Why would a senior listen to like an underclassman? So leading by example was always really big for me, especially off the field. Leading by example, you're setting the standard. You know what I mean? So that was really big for me. And then on the field, I kind of take the more traditional leadership role, and I'm in people's faces doing all that.
And so, what's your favorite memory wearing that Buckeyes uniform?
Favorite memory. This was it was hard to think about, but we had a practice and we were just having fun at the end of practice, and the coaches wanted a 7-on-7. So we lined up, and I ended up like Moss and Coach Richards in the end zone, so that was pretty fun.
Leighton, thank you for joining us, and congratulations on a decorated career. We'll send it back over to you, Jacob.
You just saw one of the guys headlining our all-GG linebacker squad, but there are plenty more, so let's hop right into it and show you the best of the best linebackers in Southeast Ohio.
The first starting linebacker on our all-GG roster is Player of the Year candidate Andrew Marshall. Marshall's a standout player for the Bulldogs as he earned Division III Central Region Defensive Player of the Year and Mid-State League Back of the Year. He has gathered 172 tackles, 32 of which were tackles for loss, had 5 sacks and 2 interceptions, all before the Bulldogs game tonight. But it doesn't just stop for him on defense. Marshall plays a key role in a powerful trio of running backs. He has 831 rushing yards and 13 touchdowns.
Another Player of the Year candidate to make the first team All-GG, Leighton Loge. Loge is one of the most decorated defensive players out of the Tri-Valley Conference. Back-to-back conference Defensive Player of the Year, Division 6 Southeast District Defensive Player of the Year, and first team defense for both the conference and the district. Justin Stump would connect with Elijah Perry past midfield, but Leighton Loge is there to punch it out from behind into the hands of Tommy Mitchell, who takes it down the far sideline.
Next up in our stacked linebacker room is Portsmouth West's Ryan Sissel.
Sissel was the guy on a Senator squad that captured their first SOC title since 2008, finishing the season with 155 tackles and 17 for loss. Oh, by the way, the senior captain also earned SOC Offensive Player of the Year. Sissel finished with over 1,700 yards and 23 scores in his final campaign as one of the best two-way players in Southeast Ohio.
And shifting to the team who knocked the Senators out of the playoffs, senior Trevor Carter caps off our all-GG starting linebackers. He is a leader on the defensive side, praised for his decision-making in clutch moments and his athleticism on the field. Carter has totaled 107 tackles, 13 tackles for loss, 5 sacks, and 6 turnovers on the season. Through 13 games, this defense has held opponents to just 10 points per game, and that's been in part to Carter's contribution this season.
Eastern's Brandon Oldacre, a junior, has earned Defensive Player of the Year for the D7 Southeast District, and yes, he has the stats to back it up. Oldacre has 99 tackles on the year, 6 of those tackles being sacks, and he leads the all-GG team in forced turnovers. This guy also leads the defense on the field for the Eagles, pushing their opponents to make mistakes. Defense continues to be an essential part of the Eagles' success this year, and Oldacre has proved to be an influential leader. His performances also earned him Defensive MVP in the TVC Hocking. He'll be back next year to continue to bring the heat.
Next up is a player who defines what a student athlete is with his ACT score of 35. Senior Hansel Holmes from Tri-Valley had a team-high 115 tackles, as well as 7 tackles for loss and 4 forced turnovers. The Division III East District Defensive Player of the Year's leadership and awareness led the Scotties to another great season.
Hansel Holmes and the Scotties defense swarmed the New Lex rushers and created a brick wall of defenders.
Moving on, we have linebacker Ty Schauger of the West Muskingum Tornadoes. Schauger was a force on the defense, racking up 114 tackles and 16 tackles for loss. He also had 6 sacks and forced 3 turnovers for the Tornadoes defense. While he earned Division V first-team linebacker, Schauger was also a huge piece of their offense. He had 1,294 rush yards and was able to find the end zone 13 times this season.
Alex Poirier was dominant all season long for the Sheridan defense, winning MVL Linebacker of the Year and earning first-team All-District honors. The senior finished with 92 tackles, 2 sacks, and 2 turnovers. He also made an offensive impact with over 600 rushing yards and 11 touchdowns. In the biggest games, he came up clutch. Take a look at this interception Week 5 at John Glenn, helping seal the deal in a 21-7 Generals win.
Last but certainly not least, Blayton Reed has made himself the most trustable and reliable linebacker for the Logan Elm Braves. Reed was recognized as Southeast District Defensive Player of the Year in Division 4. He accounted for 56 tackles, all but 2 of them solo, with 6 tackles for loss and 2 sacks. While you can put this guy on both sides of the ball, defense has been his sweet spot this season.
There's one more linebacker that's going for more than the all-GG team. He led his defense at Bloom-Carroll, who won the MSL Buckeye Conference handily. Our next GG Player of the Year candidate is Andrew Marshall.
Was followed up by guess who? No other than Andrew Marshall.
Stay ahead of schedule on offense. Focus on stopping the Bloom rushing attack, and most importantly, nullify Andrew Marshall.
Marshall's accomplishments this season are nothing short of impressive, but he sought his next accolade tonight in the regional finals. MSL reporter Maria Manesi joins us live from the field.
Thank you, Mata. It's the Bulldogs' 5th straight regional title game, this time against Bishop Watterson. Unfortunately, that means Andrew couldn't join you guys in the studio tonight, but I had the chance to sit down with him earlier this week to talk about his season. First of all, Andrew, thank you so much for being here and taking the time.
My pleasure.
You talked back in July about how you wanted to take more of a leadership role this season. How do you feel that you've achieved that with your team?
I feel like I've really stepped in that leadership role and encouraged my teammates to be better and brought energy in practice and on the field, and I think we're doing well.
So you mentioned doing well this season. You told me back in July that you have people downing you after every year. So far, you've gone 12-1, top of the conference. Like, what's that been like?
I think we're used to it by now. Just every year we get in the media, like we're losing so many people Like, are we going to be able to, step up? And I think we do every year, and we did this year.
And what makes you stand out among other players, and why do you think that you're deserving of this award?
Well, if you watch games, if you watch tape, I don't take any plays off. Every play is 100%, and I think that's what separates me from a lot of people.
Yeah, and then what is one word that you would say describes your gameplay?
Physical. Everyone talks about how big we are as a group, and people say heart over height, but we got both. We got heart and height.
How are you kind of treasuring these last few weeks with your team?
I mean, it's a lot to take in, and I really just try to give 100% every practice, every snap, because I may not ever get to play with my friends again. The people I've been with since I was a little kid.
With the Bulldogs taking on the Eagles, Andrew Marshall had to show out to come away with a victory.
For him to dominate tonight when taking on the Eagles offense. And we saw action from the Bulldogs early as Dylan Armentrout takes it 80 yards to the house on the opening play, but the extra point is blocked. Just 4 minutes later, Andrew Marshall capitalized a big drive with a 1-yard TD. It's 13-0. But the Eagles didn't give up. A.J. McInich passes it to Dominic Purcell, who takes it 6 yards for the score and makes it a one-score ball game. That's until Dylan Armentrout does what he does best and runs it 21 yards into the end zone. But the Eagles' Zach Weber takes it to the house and makes the score 20-14 going into the half. The Eagles moved down the field quickly out of the half, but the Bulldogs defense recovered a fumble on the 2-yard line. After stopping the Bulldogs, A.J. McInich capitalizes and sneaks into the end zone, and the Eagles take their first lead of the game 21-20. McInich later keeps it himself, and the Eagles are back up 28-27. In crunch time, Dylan Armentrout is the man again. He takes it 18 yards to the house, and after a failed 2-point conversion, it's 33-28. And with 52 seconds left, the Eagles try and make magic happen, but this huge interception from Jace Rockwood has the Bulldogs moving on with a 33-28 victory.
Maria, that victory makes it 13 straight wins for the Bulldogs.
Absolutely, Mata, but the win tonight couldn't have come without a fight.
Maria, the Eagles have scored a combined 110 points in their playoff run before tonight. How did the Bulldogs overcome this challenge from their offense?
Mata, it's no secret to anyone how good this Bulldog defense is. No matter the moment or how much pressure they were under tonight, they continuously kept it close with the Eagles' offense. The fight was shown especially with the interception from Jace Rockwood to seal the deal.
And Maria, the Bulldogs running backs totaled five rushing touchdowns tonight.
Yeah, not only that, but they also had 325 total rushing yards. Despite the Eagles' defense giving them trouble, they found openings needed to score.
Now the Bulldogs will look ahead to their third straight semifinal appearance.
The Bulldogs will focus towards their next tough test as they will face Tippecanoe. But playing at this time of the year is no stranger to the Bulldogs. And there is no doubt they have the intangibles and what it takes to make it far.
You're exactly right, Maria. Thanks for the great work, and get back to Athens safe. That wraps up the football action for tonight, so let's get into the big awards you all have been waiting for. 6 guys initially made the list, and now it's time to announce the winner for the Gridiron Glory Coach of the Year. So let's not waste any more time on the reveal.
And I told him the biggest fighter, like the most intense, like battling type person I ever knew was my dad, right down to the end in cancer. And they modeled that tonight. They fought and they fought and they fought. You know, if we want to win a league title this week and obviously advance in the playoffs, it has to be perfection all the time. Is 11-2 a good season? My gosh, how many? There's 800 football teams in the state of Ohio, and 50 of them maybe have a record like that, maybe. And so, absolutely, my kids should be proud when their picture goes up in the weight room and when their number goes on the arch there at the field, the RMA arch. They should feel proud. They should point at it and remember incredible things this season. But at the same time, it's short. You know, when you work this hard and the kids care that much and the parents support you that well, I got to do better. To be successful, to stand out there on that field, because let's be honest, stand my offensive line across from theirs, stand my kid next to the Marshall kid, like, we don't look the same. We just have kids that are super tough and they have great character and they battle and they're weight room kids. Our kids will be in the weight room, you know, Monday, and teams will wonder why that we're successful year after year. That's it.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome your 2022 Coach of the Year, Paul Culver III. Congratulations, Coach.
Thank you.
Congrats, Coach, and you had a great season, but there were some doubters early on. with that early season loss to Watkins Memorial. So what did you tell your guys to help them persevere in order to win 10 straight after that loss?
I think the biggest thing is to continue to believe in each other, believe in the work that they put in the off season, and my assistant coaches, which is the best staff around. And the kids have seen the proof in the pudding season after season that the program that my father has built, it's not going anywhere. So it's special.
Thank you, Coach. And you guys have faced a lot of adversity in the off season, not just losing a great senior class, but with that loss of your father. So really just tell me about how that impacted the program, how that impacted you, and how you used that to fuel your team going into the game, start the season.
So we put a PC sticker on the helmet on top of the S because it's Paul Culver's program, my dad, and the kids grew up through the Biddy League program, and they were cheering for his teams, and it's still his team, and so they just know that his presence is in every blade of grass and every plate in the weight room and every plaque in the locker room.
And Coach Culver, your team faced some more adversity, early on, and with that, at the end of the season, you said it ended a little early. I just want you to kind of expand on that, what you mean by it ended too early.
I think every team's goal is to win a state championship, and while in a lot of ways that can be unrealistic, why are we in the weight room at 6 o'clock in the morning if that's not ultimately our goal? And I had a great group of kids, and like I said, an incredible staff, and so that was our expectation. While Bloom-Carroll is a terrific football team, I'd love to play them again.
Yeah, Coach, and really just run me through what it would mean to what it means to win this award for you and what it means for the community.
I watched my dad labor through love on the sideline for 40 years, and while he did win some accolades, they weren't always, flowing in. There was always some critics, and so the fact that I can continue this, in a lot of ways, this is his award, and it just means that we're still doing the right things with the right mental attitude at Sheridan.
Exactly, and who do you have to thank for that?
Well, it starts with my beautiful wife back there because she's my #1 fan, and then again the community and the kids, and Gridiron Glory is an incredible program, and I'm just glad to be here and thankful for the support and the coverage.
Congratulations, Coach, and thank you once again.
Thank you.
Coach Culver commanded a great defense this season, and the Generals get a nod to the All-GG team at defensive back position. Here's the squad.
Leading out the first team defensive backs, we have Fairland's very own Cedar Lee. For the season, Lee was considered the X factor for the Dragons as he played multiple positions throughout the season, including running back, defensive back, and more. Lee would cap off his senior season with 78 tackles, 6 forced fumbles, 695 rushing yards, and 6 rushing touchdowns. The efforts by Lee this year earned him the first team all-purpose athlete in Southeast District and Division 5.
Now, late in the first quarter, Steeler takes the snap and punches it in from 1 yard out to take the early lead.
Following Lee, we have Sheridan's two-way stud, Reed Packard. Not only was he a force at the quarterback position with 17 total touchdowns, but he was also a top defensive back this year, earning the Division III Southeast District Defensive Player of the Year to go along with the MVL Player and Defensive Back of the Year award. He totaled 47 total tackles and forced 6 turnovers as well, a true threat to any quarterback he faces.
Coming in as our next all-team defensive back, we have the senior captain of Watkins Memorial, Jace Henry. Henry made a large statement with his stats throughout the season, combining for 12 pass breakups, 5 combined blocks, 3 fumble recoveries, and 1 touchdown off a blocked kick. Henry's excellent skill earned him the title of LCL Buckeye Defensive Back of the Year and first-team defensive back in Division II.
Senior Braxton Brown has made a huge impact this year for the Cadets on the defensive side of the ball. He has racked up a total of 8 interceptions and recorded 57 total tackles in his final season. These achievements have earned him First Team East District and Division 6 for the position. Even when dealing with injury in the first few games of the season, Brown has shown that it was a no-flight zone when the opposing teams were near him.
Braxton Brown says not so fast and picks off his second pass of the night to take back all of the momentum for the Cadets.
Next up for the All-GG team is defensive back Matt Griffin from the Unioto Sherman. Griffin has been a reliable player in the back end and has 71 tackles this season and 1 takeaway. He's also earned the privilege of being first team defensive back in Southeast District in Division 4 and was named SBC Defensive Back of the Year.
Eric Lattimore from Wheelersburg had 25 tackles, 5 interceptions, 1 TD, and 5 pass breakups. We may have him on the list as a defensive back, but he's an animal on all sides of the ball, earning himself first team as an all-purpose athlete in the Southeast District of Division 5. On the offensive side, he had 312 receiving yards and 2 receiving touchdowns on the year.
Rogers on the keeper loses the ball again, and Eric Lattimore has an easy scoop and score. Blink and you missed it, Mata. 21-13 Berg at the half. That concludes the All-GG defensive team. These guys have been locked down all season long and are a threat to any offense and a pain for coaches to scheme against. As the famous saying goes, defense wins championships, and the 7-4-0 proved that. We saw a lot of games decided by some really good defensive stops. But wrapping up the defense does not mean that's all the players left on the All-GG team. We've announced 49 guys. That leaves one more spot. Don't think we forgot about special teams. Yes, they are important too, and one guy has been killing it all season long. Here's your All-GG kicker.
Our first team All-GG special teams player is Noah Music of the Granville Blue Aces. Music was perfect, making 23 of 23 extra points and 10 for 12 on field goal attempts with a long of 47 yards, scoring 53 points for the Blue Aces. As a junior, Music took home LCL Buckeye Special Teams Player of the Year, as well as being first team kicker in Central District Division III. Music's consistency helped Granville win a share of the LCL Buckeye and make it to the regional quarterfinal. The Blue Aces have one more season of Music to look forward to, as he hopes to improve his kicking prowess.
And that completes our all Gridiron Glory team this year. Those guys are the best of the best in the 7-4-0, and they really showed out. But now it's time to get to what everyone is wondering. Which one of these guys reign above the rest and deserve the title Gridiron Glory Player of the Year? You've waited all season long for this announcement, and now it's time. These players' performances have provided them the valid claims for this award, and in my hand I hold the envelope that declares who you all think is the best. We had over 6,000 people vote, and we appreciate your support. The winner of it all is Chase Hall from Coal Grove. First and foremost. Now, tell me what's going through your head right now, what it means to win this award, and who do you want to thank for winning this award?
I would like to thank my friends, family, coaches, teammates for pushing me all year to get better, to grind each and every day in the weight room, on the field. And I just can't thank my family and stuff enough.
Gotcha. And then, you don't come from the biggest, most well-known school. What is your message to the kids that will look up to you for winning this award?
Just don't give up. Keep playing, no matter what the cost is.
Gotcha. And you've put up the most points in the nation this season. Yeah. How'd that feel to hit that milestone? That has to be a wild feeling.
Yeah, I really couldn't even honestly believe it.
I gotcha. Now, here's a question that I really want to know. What's your favorite lift to go for?
My favorite lift?
Yep.
Probably bench.
Well, it's been an honor, Chase. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Concluding the 23rd season of Gridiron Glory.
It has been an absolute honor to cover all of the teams in Southeast Ohio. We want to send out a special thanks to the viewers who have made our show a part of your Friday night routine.
And we also want to thank the coaches, players, and families for making our coverage possible all season long. This has truly been an experience I will never forget, and we do it because we love it.
You're absolutely right, Jack. So for one last time, remember, there's nothing better than Friday nights and Gridiron Glory.